Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they have to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey, and I'm so glad to have you here today. And if you're listening to this on Podomatic, please don't forget that you can also find this show on iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio. Just three of the platforms that you can find, and you can find those links if you go to womenentrepreneursecrets.com and you go under the podcast menu, and you can see the links for the different platforms. And of course, you can go to those platforms and search for the show name. Women Entrepreneurs Radio. Hope that you do. And if you're on iTunes, it would be wonderful if you can give some feedback or, a rating. 5 stars is always nice because a rating on iTunes will help the show to be found by more listeners. So that would be wonderful if you could share that. Or also, of course, you can go to womenentrepreneursecrets.com and you can share your feedback there. There's a place where you can send feedback and, let us know how you like the show, and also if there's any ideas for shows that you'd like to hear about, or if you'd like to be a guest. There's information there about that as well. So I hope you'll take advantage of all of that good stuff. And you can also visit my site, dbaileycoach.com, to find out more about my online courses and my book coaching. So I hope that you'll stop by there. And you can find out more about my books at brightstreetbooks.com. And I have a listing of my books there and also places that you can buy them. So that's another place you can find out a little bit more about me as well. So I hope you'll stop by and visit. So I'm going to introduce my guest today. And as a high school teacher for 17 years, Jeanie Cisco-Meth saw firsthand the damage that can be done by a bully. She developed a program to help her students deal with bullying so that harsh words may hurt but not devastate. In 2012, she transitioned from the classroom to the stage and has the pleasure of traveling the country sharing her life-saving message with youth and businesses alike. Jeanie says, our country can no longer pay the devastating cost of lives lost to bullies, whether the bully be internal or external. I have to do something to help. So welcome to the show, Jeanie. I'm really glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Deb. I am very excited to be here.
Yeah, I think this is just fantastic what you're doing, a fantastic topic, all of that good stuff. I was saying before, I'm really happy to talk to you and to hear more about what you're doing. So let me get started. How did you get started as a professional speaker and author?
Well, thank you for asking. I'll try to shorten it to the short answer, right? I absolutely love teaching. That is absolutely where my passion is. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I had a program that needed to be heard by even more people than just my classroom. And mm-hmm. that was definitely through prodding and persisting through my mentors as well as my higher power. And mm-hmm. so I started looking at what would that entail? What would I need to do? And then I wrote my book after that. And so in 2012, I transitioned to the stage. And I wrote a book and started traveling and helping people as much as I could. And oh my goodness, the blessings that I have received from having the courage to make that happen has just been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Wow. and your work is really so definitely needed, I think, for you to be able to do that and go out there and connect with people. what you're doing. I think particularly in the climate that's going on right now, I really can't say enough about how important this is. But I was just curious about why do you feel that there is such a, I guess, trend, I don't know what the better way to call it, about people really being bullies to other people?
Yeah, well, my belief is that hurt people hurt people. And we have so much pain in this world, and we're not doing anything to heal it. We are trying to numb it, but there's no healing going on. And so my program focuses on healing people's pain so that they can go out and heal other people. Hurt people hurt people, and healed people heal people. And that's the basis upon which my program is founded.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because if you are hurting, then that's really a lot of times what you're going to do is try to strike out at someone else. And, you know, when people are wrapped up in this pain, do you teach them how to think first, or how to change how they respond?
Yeah, so my book starts with a quote from Viktor Frankl, who lived through the Holocaust. And the quote is, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our power to choose. And in our choice lies our growth and our freedom. And that's exactly everything that I talk about in a nutshell. Because it's all about the stimulus comes in. Somebody calls you a name. You get fired from work. You know, somebody cuts you off on the freeway. Whatever it is, stimulus comes in. And then I respond. The question is how do you respond? If you have managed your emotions appropriately, then you respond appropriately. The problem is so many of mainstream America or people don't know how to manage emotions. Yeah. All they know is that if I dump my emotions or lash out at someone else, then I feel better. But what you've just done is dumped your cup of emotions into someone else's cup of emotion and just overflow them.
Yeah.
And so you've got to learn how to appropriately drain off those emotions instead of numbing and pushing them down and continuing to hold them. So that's what I help people do.
And I think a lot of times you see that kind of response if you're on social media. Yeah, you see a lot of that on some of the platforms where people are geared to having some kind of immediate response. And for some of them, it's just, how can I say something smart back at someone, or say something really mean? And I'm like, wow, is that what
Yeah. It's that unloading of emotion. If things happen, all throughout the day, things happen. And if I don't regularly, as I call it, drain that emotion off, get rid of that emotion, it builds up. And typically the first people that we unload on are our friends and family, because they're the easiest. They're the easy target.
So, how did you develop this program? Oh, this is just so powerful.
Thank you. Many years of study, and it comes from, some of the parts come from Zig Ziglar, some of them from Dennis Waitley, some of them from Jim Rohn. These are not new concepts necessarily. They're just packaged in a way that is targeted at a certain audience. And so when I was a high school teacher, I realized very quickly that my students needed more than just health and driver's ed and PE, some of the subjects that I taught. And I had one student who was 17 years old and had 8 children.
Wow.
And I know that I worked at an alternative high school. It wasn't mainstream high school. It was kids who were incredible kids. They had just made bad decisions. Some of them, many bad decisions.
Wow.
And so I started going, okay, how can I help them the most? And I myself was going through quite a bit of personal development and growth and learning about me. I absolutely love to learn. And so I thought, okay, I can take all these concepts that I'm learning and put them into a package that my students can get benefit from. And that's exactly what I did. And that's where Bully Proofing You came from, was that packaging of concepts that I was using to change and improve my life to help my students change and improve their lives.
It's so important to do that. So what are the steps to bully proofing?
So in my book, I break it down into basically 3 sections. And there's 2 types of bullies. One is the internal bully that we have that stops us from doing what we know we should. Good things, that stops us from doing good things. Let me clarify that. And then we also have the external bully, the bully that's on the outside. My belief is that the external bully is so powerful because the internal bully is so loud. Mm-hmm. And so I say things to myself like, you're too stupid, you're too fat, you're too whatever, and I stop myself. When I was in elementary school, they told me I was too stupid to make it through school. And at the time, they were absolutely correct. I had so many learning disabilities that we weren't sure if I would make it. Looking back on that now as an adult, I know that it was the absolute perfect thing for them to say because it ticks me off. My response to that stimulus was, you don't decide, I decide. And so it gave me that fuel, that fire underneath me to make sure that I did whatever I could to finish school so that I could prove them wrong.
Right.
And so that's why I became a teacher, was to help, I developed some very specific skills that I could pass on as a teacher. And so that's why I became a teacher. Then I developed some very specific skills and tools that I could use to help others, and that's why I transitioned to the stage.
It seems so awful, though, for someone to tell a student something like that.
It does, but it's the response that the student takes. And so the first part of my book is all about personal value. And you'll see in the book a pyramid, and it's in 3 tiers with an arrow running up and down the side, a double-ended arrow. And that first tier on that pyramid is personal value, because I decide my value. The problem arises when I allow others to decide my value.
Right.
And so when I'm saying I'm stupid, when I'm saying I'm no good, when I'm saying I'm not valuable, I'm not loved, I'm ugly, whatever it is, and someone outside of me parrots that back to me, it validates that disbelief and can cause a downward spiral. Now, if I believe in me and I believe that I'm valuable, that I'm needed, that I'm beautiful, that I'm loved, then when someone outside of me says that I'm not, I disregard it and I continue to move through life on my terms. And so the first part of the book is geared to helping people make the decision to like themselves. Because I absolutely believe it's a decision. It's a decision that I make and action that I take. And so that's what the first part of the book is all about, deciding to love yourself, to like yourself. And then, declarations, or as I call them, declarations. Some people call them affirmations, positive statements, whatever. Create some and use them. On the back of my business card, it says, you are needed in this time and space, because you absolutely are. You are needed in this time and space. You are loved. And for every person who is saying you're not good enough, there's 10 people saying you are. It's just, who are you focusing on and who are you listening to?
Yeah, that's true. And I think a lot of times people are listening to the negatives.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, than the positives, unfortunately. And then that one negative can really change their whole perspective. Yeah.
So I invite people, especially the people who are listening to this podcast, I invite you to start listening to and looking for the positive voices that are outside of you as well as inside of you. Now, if you have beat yourself up so much internally that all you have is negative in your head, then start looking outside of you for validation. It's there. I promise you it's there. You just got to look for it.
Right.
And then what I always recommend to my clients when we first start working together is carry a little notebook in your pocket, just a pocket-sized notebook in your purse, in your back pocket, whatever, that as those negative thoughts come through, you can catch them, write them down, and get rid of them. So start paying attention to the voices in your head. And so you write down, I call it, the bully versus the truth. And so you write down that you're not good enough, or you're stupid, or you're fat. Those are some of mine that come up a lot. Mm-hmm. So and then on my other piece of paper, so on my one page, as those come up, I write them down. And then on the other page, I write, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I know where I'm going, and the perfect size for me. So whatever negative come up, I switch it to the positive. And then I keep all of those positive journals, and I look at them, and I read them, and I feed my mind positive self-talk. And I take all the negative, and I personally like to burn them. I'm a pyro. I go out and torch them. But you can shred them, you can throw them away, whatever. I personally like to burn them. Get rid of them. Mm-hmm. Don't look at them anymore. Look at the positive. Listen to the positive.
That's great. Great advice. So can you tell us a bit about your book?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. So first of all, I want to make your audience a special offer. If they go to bullyproofingyoubook.com, I'm giving the book away absolutely free. All I ask is that they pay for shipping. And you can there's a video there that introduces it. It's pretty much an entire home study course right there. It just depends on how much of it you want. If you want all the videos and the workbook and everything that goes with it, there is an upcharge for that. But the book is free, absolutely free other than shipping. And that's bullyproofingyoubook.com. And the first part is kind of what we've been talking about in the love yourself, that personal value. Mm-hmm. The second part of the book goes into perspective and why people bully. Hurt people. Mm-hmm. And it helps you remember to look at how can I look at things differently. And I love to teach through stories. Absolutely love stories. And so there's a story in there of one of my students that I was teaching. And her name's Tawny. And she said, Jeanie, I was having a really bad day, and this person called me a bad word. And I was thinking, okay, what would Jeanie do? And I thought, okay, that is a female dog, and dogs bark, and bark is on trees, and I like trees. So I looked at the person, and I said, thank you. Really bad, thank you. And I walked away, and I was like, oh, my gosh, you go, girl. You go, girl. And that's what it's all about. Nothing has meaning except the meaning I give it. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody calls me a name, it goes back to that stimulus response. Mm-hmm. She had a stimulus. Somebody called her the B word. But in her mind, in that space between the stimulus and response, she paused and created a new meaning for what she had just been called. Mm-hmm. And had an appropriate, empowering response. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's the second part. And then the third part gives you a step-by-step process on how to start processing their one-liners, their planned responses. Because when emotion is high, intelligence is low. Mm. So, somebody says something to you, and like 2 hours later, you know exactly what to say.
Right. Right.
That's because the emotion has calmed down, and your brain can function again. And so it walks you through learning how to process and work with information even when emotion is high. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the third part is all about. And then the arrow running down the side says practice, 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 because you've got to practice all three continually.
That's so important as far as a response and finding a way to deal with your immediate reaction to something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how you can turn that around. because that could be very, very destructive. But what has been your most memorable experience in helping people tame their bullies?
There's quite a few. But the one that I'm going to share is one that impacted me profoundly. Mm-hmm. And this was a couple of years ago. And I was in that moment of, why am I doing this? Am I helping anyone at all? You know, that self-doubt, that bully had jumped on me hardcore. And I wanted to just stay in bed and suck my thumb. And I was like, I'm done. What have I done? My life is over. Oh, I could go on and paint that picture for you, but I think you get it, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh. And I picked up my phone and I opened up Facebook. And it said, you have been tagged in a post. So-and-so, Dawn Riggs has tagged you in a post. And I'm like, oh, yay. Tagged in another sunglass ad. And I'm like, so I go and I look at the post, and it's a quote from my book.
Wow.
And I can feel the emotion coming up, and I've got goosebumps all over my body right now. Because in that moment, I have no idea. I do now know who Dawn Riggs is. But at that time, I had no idea who she was. No idea.
Wow.
And here she was quoting my book on her Facebook page and how it had helped her and changed her life. And I was like, that's why I'm doing what I do.
Oh.
That right there is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And immediately, all those negative voices that 2 seconds before had been jumping on me, making me doubt myself, making me wonder if what I was doing was any good, immediately were silenced and put to the sideline. And I could focus on, what do I do next? Who do I help next? Where can I go to reach more people? And I sent Dawn a text message, a messenger through Facebook, and said, you just changed my day. You made my entire day, and you changed my perspective from one of, why am I doing this, to thank goodness I wrote a book.
Yeah, because I believe that everyone gets to those points where you wonder, why am I doing this? And is it really making a difference to anyone?
Yeah.
And you found that out.
Yeah.
Right away.
And once I got on the other side of it, I'm like, I have hundreds and hundreds, possibly even in the thousands now, comments, emails, letters, cards, all kinds of stuff from people all over the world, letting me know how my book has changed their life. And so now, once in a while, I go through those comments and I pull them up and I look at them. So I don't get to that really dark, ugly place again. So that I remind myself why I'm doing it and who I'm doing it for. And so that's another recommendation that I want to leave with you and your audience. And that is, make sure that you are celebrating your wins all along the way. Every time I have a comment come in, whereas before I would take it and say, oh, that's nice. Now I read it and I look at it and I soak it in and I hold it in my heart and I use it as fuel to help me keep going forward. Whereas before I might negate it and say, well, that's just their thoughts, but I'm not really doing a good job. I'm not right? But I realized that in doing that, I'm calling that person a liar.
That's true. That's a good point.
And I'm telling them that I don't believe in them. And that's wrong. That's wrong.
That's true.
And so when people give me positive feedback, oh, baby, I suck up every little ounce of it. And I put it in my heart. And I use it to keep me moving forward.
Right.
And I don't want you to think that I just get all positive stuff, because that is not true. But when the negative comes in, I have the positive to counterbalance it. And I don't focus on just the negative. I don't focus on just the positive. I take it all in whole and allow it to help me.
Well, I think a lot of times people will focus on the negative, even if you get positive and negative.
Right.
We tend to just look at that negative thing, because I know in terms of being an author, and if you get that negative review, that's the thing you focus on.
Absolutely. I go to my Amazon page that has my book there. I am an Amazon bestseller. Thank you very much. Only by the grace of God. I'm just saying. But you go there and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are incredible reviews. And then there's that one. One review right in the middle. And I'm like, oh, and I read that. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute here. You know, you've got all these positive 5-star reviews, incredible reviews, and then you've got one bad one. Let it go. Let it go.
Right. It's that one that you focus on, and you've got other.
Yeah. So choose to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Because whatever I focus on gets bigger.
Yes.
So I focus on the negative gets bigger, and I stop.
That's true.
I stop. But when I focus on the positive, then I can keep moving forward.
That's so true, because the negative will start to make you feel like, oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I'm wrong. I shouldn't be, and all those things come up. You're right. It's funny how that's the thing that will trip you up. Even when other people are saying that they're really happy that you did this, you'll skip over that to look at that one thing that's there, and that's so true.
Stop it.
Yeah, right. That's so true. Oh my God, just stop doing it.
Yeah.
Stop doing it.
Choose what you focus on. You choose. That's the one thing that God endued us with is our power to choose. Free will is, everybody gets it.
Yes.
Everybody gets it. So choose.
That's true. That's really really important to know. So, could you share where people can find you and find your book?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, you can go to JeanieCisco-Meth.com. It's spelled like computers and drugs. And luckily, I am the only Cisco-Meth on the internet. Thank goodness my name isn't Jane Smith. There's 50,000 of them. I'm the only Cisco-Meth on the internet. And or you can go to bullyproofingyourbook.com, and that gives you that free offer of the book. Just pay for shipping, and either one of those will work. And we have all kinds of social media pages, and you type in bullyproofing you, or you type, it'll get you to me, and just you can connect with me through there, through my bullyproofing you book page, either one. I'd love to hear from you guys.
Wonderful. So what do you love the most about what you do?
I love teaching. Not only do I love learning, but I love teaching. I love taking information and putting it into simple but significant steps that people can use to change their life. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. And I don't have to grade papers anymore.
Well, that's got to be a positive.
Yep, it absolutely is. People pay me to help them change their life. And the choice is theirs. And I let them know that right up front. Anytime I start working with somebody, coaching or mentoring somebody, I say, your success is all you, and so is your failure. I'm going to give you steps that you can follow. Again, simple but significant steps that will absolutely help you create whatever life you desire. But you've got to take the steps. And so many people aren't willing to take the steps.
Well, yeah, and I think also a lot of times people don't think that they really have the power to make the choice. They feel like they don't have any power at all. Yeah.
That's what that first part of my book is all about. Loving yourself, believing in yourself, realizing that you're a valuable, worthwhile human being, and that you truly are needed in this time and space.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people don't believe that, and it's not even just children, it's adults.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess you can tell by their behavior a lot of times that's why they behave the way they do. They don't have that feeling.
One question that I use when I'm in the middle of that stimulus and I want to move into the space of love and understanding, love and light, I'll ask myself the question, why would a reasonable, rational adult or child, whichever, behave this way? And what that does is it helps me key into their possible perspective and what they might be going through that is causing the action that they're having. It helps me step into empathy and to know how to help.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Yeah, having empathy for that other person, and particularly a lot of times when people don't seem to be easy to empathize
Right.
with. Sometimes,
Yeah.
That can be a problem, and then just seeing that this is also another human being, who may be going through something or have their own issues that have led them. Yeah, and then made them react in certain ways, and then that becomes like a chain reaction, unfortunately.
Yes.
That becomes very negative about that. So, I'm guessing that you really have, and what you've shared, that you've seen a lot of results from what your program has done.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have comments on LinkedIn. We have comments on my website. We have, letters. I think the most important one was the letter that I received from Denmark. I've never been to Denmark. Would love to go. I've also received, letters from Japan and things like that, of people saying, thank you so much for giving me my daughter back, or for giving me my husband back, or whatever. Because somebody who is in pain and not living their purpose is not very fun to be around.
Yes.
And as a parent of a child who used to be suicidal, I know what that fear is like. And when you can give them a tool that can save their life forever, you don't have to worry about them committing suicide. You don't have to worry about the phone call in the middle of the night or the knock on the door from the police officer. That is so powerful, so strong. And those letters, those comments, those thank yous are absolutely what keeps me going.
Yeah, because you can see how your work is touching people, even places that you've never been to, but it's making a difference in people's lives. And that's something that, you really can't overlook that or make light of it, or just kind of, if someone's in that kind of funk and you're like, oh, what am I doing? I don't see it. And something like that tells you right away that what you're doing does matter. To people,
and there are very specific things that you can listen to or listen for as a parent. There was a girl just March 17th, 17 years old, and she committed suicide, and everybody's going, we didn't see it coming. We had no idea. She was so happy. She had straight A's. She was number one in her robotics class. They just won regions, all of this stuff going for her. Then they found her diary. And all of the negativity in that diary led to her suicide. You can't look at somebody and know if they're being bullied or not, because their voice may be inside.
That's true.
But there are some key phrases that you can listen for. The problem is that so many parents are caught up in bullying themselves already that they don't hear it. They miss it. They miss it.
And so many people also looking for the outward things as well. And they think if someone seems to be happy or seems to be functioning, they must be okay. Because I think the idea is if you're functioning, well, things must be fine,
Right.
And so many people can fake that.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've been taught to do.
Yes.
You numb it.
Yes.
You numb your pain with some type of drug or, addiction or whatever. There's so many drugs out there.
Exactly.
They're not all illegal. A lot of them are legal.
Right.
And that's how we cope. We numb.
Yes.
I invite people, instead of numbing, to deal with it, to get rid of it.
Right.
Heal yourself so you can help heal others.
Exactly. And I think that what you're saying here is it's really important to note, because I was telling someone about how a cousin of mine just passed away suddenly about 3 weeks ago, and it was just really was unbelievable. I just heard from her son, and suddenly she's in the hospital and, on life support. It was just like, what is this? Yeah. And, I was telling someone, that I work with, I said, you're really just supposed to step back into your life like nothing's changed. And I said, everything has changed.
Right.
But you're not supposed to show that.
Yeah.
And it's not normal.
Yeah.
It really isn't, at this point in my life, well, I guess at any point, I don't think there's any point that I can lose someone and it doesn't affect me, but you're just supposed to just jump right back into, an environment and just pretend that your world hasn't changed. And that just seems like, nah, that's not realistic.
Right.
It's not realistic. And then the person is trying to navigate this world and then pretend everything's fine, and that it's not.
Right.
So you really have to learn how to cope with that, or, make whatever changes you feel you have to make. If if a lot of times when we have those kind of events, then we start to look at our lives and say, maybe there's things I need to change.
Right.
But to acknowledge that and not try to bury it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I've realized that at this point, not to bury that, but it's interesting that that's kind of the expectation. At least, I feel in this culture is very much the expectation.
Yeah.
Numb
ignore it, put it away.
Yeah.
Don't show your sad face. Oh,
yeah.
You show your sad face.
Right.
And, the problem is there's no skills with how to deal with it. It's just bury it or ignore it.
Yeah.
And so my book has tips and tools that you can use to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't push it down, so you don't ignore it.
Right. Because it doesn't really go away. And that's exactly what you're saying. All these things don't go away.
Right.
People have to deal with them in some way or another. So what is next for you, Jeanie, in your work?
So I'm writing my third book.
Oh, wow, great.
Yeah, really excited about that. The first one, Bully Proofing You, was directed towards middle school and high school students. However, I think more adults have read it than kids. And so, but the kids love my live presentations. They love it when I come to their school, and they're pretty interactive. I'm a pretty high energy person. So, but I'm currently writing a book addressing the internal bullies specifically for adults. And so that's what we're doing. We're on our second edit right now. And so it's been a lot of work and a lot of fun. And I also go to businesses and corporations and help them create a respectful workplace, teach them exactly what you and I've been talking about, how to help their employees deal with things better in a more appropriate manner. And we also go to schools, all across the country, and we're negotiating some contracts that are international. So that's exciting as well. So if you have this training in your business or at your school, please reach out to me. Any of those avenues, bullyproofingyobook.com or JeanieCisco-Meth.com, and get in touch with me, and we'll get you booked and on the schedule. We'll come help you in any way we can.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I'm glad that you're coming out with that book. I think that's going to be so helpful for everyone to have. So, Jeanie, this is a very important topic, and we could definitely go and talk about so many aspects of it. It touches on, real life for children and adults. So, this is really important and really wonderful work. So, but do you have any final thoughts to share?
I just want you to remember that hurt people, and healed people heal people. Let's start the healing and stop the hurting.
That's perfect. That is perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Jeanie, for joining me. I really have enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much, as have I. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. So everyone, I know you enjoyed this conversation. Please share this on social media, share it with your friends, have them listen. Go to womenentrepreneursradio.com and you can find the links, as I said, for the show. And definitely let people know to listen and reach out to Jeanie and check out her books. I think this is such an important topic for children and adults. So please definitely share this as much as you can. So once again, it's Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneursSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.